The planet Sorel was dying. Its skies were dark with ash, and its oceans had turned gray from pollution and war. Cities that once gleamed with towering crystal spires were now nothing more than shattered shells. Fires burned in some districts, smoke curling into the thick clouds above, and the streets were empty except for the desperate or the injured. The Sorelians, a tall and graceful species with shimmering skin that reflected the dim light of their sun, had fought fiercely to defend their world. For centuries, they had faced an enemy that seemed unstoppable. Mechanized armies from a distant star system, armed with weapons so advanced that even their most powerful defenses failed. Every attack the Sorelians launched was countered swiftly, every attempt at escape blocked. The planet had become a cage. In the capital city, Viridian, the council hall lay in ruins. Broken pillars leaned at impossible angles, and cracked windows let in the cold, gray wind. The alien leaders sat in a circle on the cold stone floor. Their faces were solemn, their eyes hollow. "This is the end," said Talira, a silver-skinned counselor whose calm voice had once inspired hope. Now even she sounded weary. "We have no allies, no reinforcements. We have fought and we have lost." Another counselor, Reiner, shook his head. His long violet hair fell over his shoulders as he spoke. "We cannot simply wait to die. Yet, what choice do we have? Our scouts report that the enemy will strike the outer cities in less than a cycle. The people will not survive another attack." The council sat in silence, each member thinking of the innocent lives at stake. Families huddled in shelters, children hiding from the roar of distant explosions, and the elderly unable to move quickly enough to escape the fires. Every street carried the echoes of screams and the smell of smoke. A young scout, Kalen, entered the hall, his face pale but determined. "Counselors," he said, "I have seen something you must hear." The council turned their attention to him. His wings, usually a symbol of grace, drooped with exhaustion. "What is it, Kalen?" asked Talira. "Ships." "Human ships," he said, his voice trembling slightly. "They are entering our system. I do not know their intent. I only know they are real." The word human hung in the air. The Sorelians had heard legends of a distant race from the stars, humans. Tales passed down through generations spoke of their courage, their unpredictability, and their ability to survive the impossible. But such stories were often dismissed as myths, exaggerated by travelers and merchants. Reiner's eyes narrowed. "Humans, you are certain?" Kalen nodded. "Yes, I have seen them with my own eyes. Their ships are unlike anything we have ever known. They move with speed beyond comprehension, and their formations. They adapt as if they are thinking faster than any machine." The council exchanged uncertain glances. Hope, fragile and unfamiliar, stirred among them, but fear remained. "Why would they come here?" asked Talira softly. "We are insignificant to the galaxy. We have no power, no wealth. Why risk their lives for us?" Kalen hesitated. "I do not know. But if there is even a chance that they are coming to help, we cannot ignore it." For a moment, silence fell over the ruined hall. Outside, the wind howled through the broken streets, carrying with it the scent of ash and despair. The Sorelians had grown used to the feeling that no help would ever arrive, that their struggle was their own and theirs alone. Yet now, the possibility of aid hung like a fragile light in the darkness. Meanwhile, far from Sorel, the human fleet approached. Massive starships cut through the blackness of space, gleaming under the light of distant stars. Each vessel moved with precision and confidence, their engines leaving trails of faint blue energy. Within the command center of the lead ship, Admiral Elena Voss observed the Sorelian system through large, transparent screens. "Status report," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "Enemy forces detected in orbit and on the surface, Admiral," replied Lieutenant Park. "They are heavily fortified. Civilians are trapped in several regions. Casualty reports are severe." Elena frowned, but she did not hesitate. "Prepare for immediate engagement. Our objective is not only to strike the enemy, but to protect the population. We will not fail them." Her crew worked in perfect synchronization. Engineers adjusted the shields. Pilots coordinated formation flights, and strategists calculated attack patterns. Humanity had faced countless threats across the galaxy, but each time they triumphed through a combination of intelligence, adaptability, and courage. Today would be no different. Back on Sorel, rumors of the approaching humans spread among the remaining population. In the refugee camps and hidden shelters, families whispered to each other, unsure whether to believe the tales. They are coming? A small child asked, clutching a worn doll. I don't know, replied her mother, her voice shaking. But maybe we will see help after all. In the skies above, scouts reported strange movements. Alien defense systems that had once been reliable now struggled to track the human ships. They moved in patterns no one could predict, sometimes splitting apart and rejoining, other times appearing to vanish entirely before striking at precise targets. The enemy, confident in its dominance, was caught off guard. Counselor Reiner watched through a tactical screen, his long fingers trembling slightly. They fight differently. They do not fear loss. They do not panic. It is as if they are alive in a way we cannot comprehend. Talira nodded slowly. This is what our legends spoke of. Humanity is not just strong, they are clever, adaptive, relentless. Perhaps they are the storm we needed. As the first engagements began in the outer cities, the Cerelian civilians caught their first glimpse of hope. Human strike teams descended from orbit, rescuing trapped families, disarming explosives, and fending off enemy patrols. Their movements were swift and precise, yet compassionate. No one was left behind, no life considered insignificant. Kalen, standing on a ruined rooftop, watched a group of humans push back the enemy from the city center. Their weapons were advanced, but it was their coordination, their courage, and their refusal to give up that impressed him most. The humans moved like a living force, unpredictable yet unstoppable. It is incredible, he whispered to himself. They are more than the story said. As night fell over Sorel, the alien leaders gathered again. The first wave of human forces had arrived, and the tide of battle was beginning to turn. For the first time in many cycles, the council felt a spark of hope. Talira spoke, her voice firm and resolute. We have endured centuries of despair, yet now we see that help has come. If these humans fight alongside us, perhaps we will survive. Perhaps our world is not lost. Reiner placed a hand on her shoulder. We must trust them, Talira. We have no choice but to trust humanity. They are the storm that strikes when all seems lost. Below, the city streets still smoldered, but in the hearts of the Cerelians, a new fire had begun to burn. Hope was fragile, but it was alive, and as the first human ships landed and soldiers moved to protect the innocent, it became clear that the age of despair on Sorel might finally be ending. For the first time in generations, the Cerelians believed that help would arrive, and when humanity struck, they would strike like a storm, fierce, unrelenting, and unforgettable. Word count 1 to 305 if you want. I can continue with part 2, keeping the story even more thrilling, showing humanity's approach, the first battles, and Cerelians beginning to see hope in action. Do you want me to continue to part 2 now? You said ChatGPT said absolutely. Here's part 2 of your story in third person, simple English, engaging and safe for all audiences, around 1,300 words. Part 2. Whispers of a Storm. The first human ships glided silently over the shattered cities of Sorel, their silver hulls gleaming faintly under the dim light of the planet's sun. From above, the streets seemed empty, yet the scouts had reported pockets of civilians hiding in ruined buildings, fearful of the enemy that had claimed their world. On board the lead human ship, the SS Vanguard, Admiral Elena Voss stood at the central observation deck. Her eyes swept across the holographic displays, marking enemy positions, civilian shelters, and routes for evacuation. Every decision she made could mean life or death for thousands below. Commander Park, she said, her voice calm but commanding. Update me on enemy movements. Park adjusted the controls, and a holographic map of Sorel's surface appeared. They are scattered but organized. Automated defense units guard the remaining cities and patrols maintain constant pressure. Civilians are trapped in several zones. Our initial plan is to disable key defensive nodes to allow safe evacuation routes. Elena nodded. Proceed. And remember, we protect the people first. The enemy will fall if we break their control over the population. Meanwhile, on the planet's surface, the Cerelians watched the human ships approach with a mixture of awe and disbelief. No one had expected help to come, not from across the stars, not after centuries of isolation. Yet here they were. A fleet unlike anything the aliens had ever imagined, moving with precision, confidence, and a strange, unstoppable energy. Kalen, the young scout, was among the first to reach a vantage point. He had climbed to the top of a half-collapsed tower, his eyes scanning the horizon. They are real, he whispered too. The skies above Sorel blazed with motion. Human ships darted between crumbling buildings and enemy fortresses, moving like living streaks of silver light. Their presence was no longer just a promise, it had become the turning point of the battle. On the surface, the enemy's patrols grew frantic. They had expected the Cerellians to collapse under pressure, but the humans were unlike any opponent they had faced. Their tactics were unpredictable, their coordination perfect, and their courage unshakable. Every attack was precise, every retreat calculated. Nothing the enemy did seemed to halt their advance. Kalen guided a squad of humans through the city streets. They moved cautiously but confidently, weaving through rubble and abandoned vehicles. His knowledge of the terrain allowed them to avoid ambushes and reach civilians trapped in collapsed buildings. "Here," Kalen said, pointing to a narrow alley partially blocked by debris. "The children are hiding in a lower shelter. We can reach them safely if we move quickly." Lieutenant Mara Chen nodded, signaling her team to advance. "Stay alert. Enemy drones are in the area. Cover each other and keep civilians in the center." The squad moved as one, humans and Cerellians together, each complementing the other's strengths. The Cerellians used their agility and knowledge of the terrain, while humans provided firepower, shields, and strategic coordination. Within minutes, the children were safe, led to a secure zone where medics waited. Kalen watched, awe in his eyes. "I've never seen anything like this," he whispered. They fight for us, for our people, not just for victory. That is why they are unstoppable." Meanwhile, the enemy regrouped in a nearby command center. Machines clanked and whirred as automated systems scanned the city for intruders. Yet every move they made was anticipated and countered by human forces. The humans seemed to think faster than the enemy machines, using traps, feints, and unpredictable tactics to outmaneuver them. From orbit, Admiral Elena Voss monitored the battle. "The humans are performing exceptionally," she said to her officers. "Keep supporting the squads on the ground. We cannot allow the enemy to regain control of any sector. Remember, our mission is to save lives, not just defeat the enemy." Below, the Cerellians began to feel something they had long thought impossible. Hope. Soldiers who had hidden in fear now followed the humans' lead, attacking with courage and creativity. Civilians, inspired by the bravery they witnessed, offered assistance by guiding humans through hidden passages and warning of enemy movements. Reiner, standing on a rooftop with Talira, observed the unfolding battle. "Look at them," he said, pointing to a human squad taking cover behind debris while firing at enemy units. "Every move, every decision, they fight with their minds, their hearts, and their strength. This is the storm we prayed for." Talira nodded. "Yes, and it is not only their power that inspires us. It is their determination to protect lives, to never give up, even when the odds seem impossible." In one particularly tense sector, a group of humans faced a heavily fortified enemy bunker. The structure was bristling with automated defenses and heavily armed guards. A direct assault would have been suicidal for any ordinary force, but humans were not ordinary. Captain Arik Solis, leading the squad, observed the bunker carefully. "We cannot storm it head-on. Use diversion, terrain, and timing. We strike fast, precise, and together. Civilians inside must remain safe." His team split into coordinated units. One group deployed holographic decoys to draw enemy fire, while another infiltrated the flanks. Engineers disabled energy barriers, and soldiers provided cover for each movement. Within minutes, the enemy inside the bunker was overwhelmed, surrendering or retreating in confusion. Kalen, watching from a distance, could hardly believe what he saw. They turned a death trap into a victory," he murmured. "It is amazing." The success of the human squads inspired the Cerellian defenders. Previously beaten soldiers regained their courage, using new strategies they learned from human tactics. Together they became a force the enemy could no longer predict or intimidate. As the day wore on, the enemy's morale began to falter. Machines failed to adapt to human ingenuity, and soldiers grew fearful of the unpredictable humans on the battlefield. Reports from scouts showed that the humans were not only neutralizing enemy forces, but also liberating occupied zones, restoring power to critical systems, and evacuating civilians. In a temporary command center, Talira coordinated with human officers. "The outer city sectors are nearly clear. How quickly can we move to rescue the remaining civilians in the industrial zone?" Lieutenant Chen responded through a secure channel. "We can deploy squads immediately. We will need guidance on safe routes, and Cerellian knowledge of traps and enemy patrols will be critical." Kalen stepped forward. "I know the area. Follow me and we will reach them safely." The joint operation began with careful precision. Human squads moved through industrial ruins, disabling enemy weapons and securing pathways. Corellian volunteers guided them through hidden passages, avoiding ambushes and blocked streets. Civilians were rescued one by one, carried to safety under the protection of human shields. Above, human ships provided air cover, scanning for enemy reinforcements and deploying drones to disable enemy communications. Their combined approach of strategy, firepower, and protection left the enemy scrambling. They had underestimated humans, assuming that no civilization could challenge them so effectively. Yet the humans' adaptability and courage proved otherwise. By evening, the first major victories were visible. Several districts previously under enemy control were now liberated. Civilians cheered as humans and Corellians worked together, rebuilding temporary shelters and distributing food and medical aid. Hope was no longer a distant dream, it was real, tangible, and growing stronger with every successful rescue. Admiral Elena, observing the progress from orbit, allowed herself a rare smile. "This is just the beginning," she said. "We have shown them what humanity can do, but the enemy still controls parts of the planet. We must remain vigilant. We strike like a storm, relentless and precise until victory is complete." Night fell over Sorel, but the city was alive with activity. Fires were being extinguished, debris cleared, and people moving safely to temporary shelters. Human squads patrolled the streets, ensuring security and protecting civilians, while Corellians began learning from their allies, gaining new skills and courage. Kalen stood beside Talira and Rhinor, looking at the liberated city. "I never thought I would see this," he said softly. "After so many cycles of despair, humans arrived, and they are turning everything around." Talira smiled, though her eyes were tired. "We have always believed in courage, in fighting for our people. But now, we see what determination combined with intelligence can achieve. Humanity is showing us a new way to survive, a new way to fight." Reiner nodded. "Yes, they are more than warriors. They are teachers, protectors, and guides. If we follow their example, we can reclaim our world." As the first whispers of dawn touched the horizon, the city was transformed. Once dead streets were now pathways to safety. Once hopeless civilians now held in their hearts the spark of hope. Once defeated soldiers now stood ready to fight again. The enemy, battered and confused, retreated to their inner strongholds. Machines and soldiers had failed to anticipate the humans' ingenuity and adaptability. Their grip on the planet, once thought unbreakable, was slipping. In the quiet moments before the next wave of human operations, Talira addressed the council. "We have seen what humanity can do, but this is not the end. We must continue to fight alongside them. We must learn from them. Together we can push the enemy back and reclaim what is ours." Kalen, feeling a mixture of pride and awe, added, "We may have been on the edge of despair, but now we have allies. Now we have hope. The humans are like a storm, fierce and unstoppable, and we must stand with them." And so, as the sun rose over Sorel, casting light over the damaged but resilient city, the tide had truly begun to turn. The storm of humanity had struck, shaking the enemy to its core, and the Sorelians had begun to believe that their world could be saved. Hope, once fragile, was now a force to be reckoned with. And as the humans and Sorelians prepared for the battles yet to come, one thing was clear. The enemy could no longer underestimate them. The storm had arrived, and it would not stop until the planet was free. Word count 105. If you want, I can continue with part 4, where the story escalates into large-scale battles. Sorelians fight with full courage, and the humans' full power and strategy are revealed. Do you want me to proceed with part 4 next? You said ChatGPT said absolutely. Here's part 4 of your HFY story in third person. Simple English, engaging, and safe for all audiences, around 1,300 words. Part 4, Humanity Unleashed. The sun rose over Sorel, casting long shadows across streets once ruled by fear and despair. The city, scarred and battered, now buzzed with activity. Human squads moved methodically, securing strategic points, guiding civilians to safe zones, and coordinating with Sorelian defenders. The storm had arrived, and its force was unstoppable. In the industrial sector, where enemy forces had entrenched themselves behind heavily armored walls and automated turrets, Captain Arik S. The sun rose over Sorel, painting the skies in shades of gold and crimson. The once battered city now shimmered with activity. Fires had been extinguished, Rubble cleared from the streets and temporary shelters provided refuge for those who had survived. Yet the enemy still lingered in some distant strongholds, their forces scattered but not entirely defeated. Admiral Elena Voss observed the planet from orbit. Her eyes scanned the final enemy positions, the holographic displays showing the remaining threats. "This is the last phase," she said to her officers. "We strike decisively and we leave Sorel free. Focus on civilians, neutralize the enemy and restore control to our allies. Precision is everything." On the surface, Captain Arik Solis prepared his squads for the final assault. "We know the terrain. We know the enemy's weaknesses. Move with speed and protect every life we can. Today we finish what we started." Lieutenant Marachen nodded. "Split into 3 teams. Team A will secure the civilians in the eastern districts. Team B neutralizes enemy weapons and defenses. Team C covers all movements and provides backup. Timing is critical." Kalen, standing among the Sorelian defenders, felt a mixture of fear and determination. He had seen despair, felt it deep in his soul, and now he saw hope. "I will lead the civilians to safety," he said. "With the humans beside us, we can survive anything." As the squads advanced, the enemy attempted one final coordinated strike. Heavy walkers rolled through the streets, automated turrets fired relentlessly, and drones swarmed from the skies. But the humans anticipated every move. Their strategies were flexible, their reactions instant. Each soldier adapted to the changing battlefield, turning potential disaster into opportunity. Captain Solis directed his team with calm authority. "Split and flank the walkers. Use the alleys for cover. Disable the turrets and protect the civilians." Human soldiers moved with unparalleled precision, combining strategy, courage, and innovation. One group used EMP grenades to disable enemy machines, while another team created temporary shields to protect civilians. The Sorelians, inspired and trained by their human allies, fought alongside them, attacking strategically and bravely. In the eastern district, Kalen led a group of frightened civilians through hidden tunnels, emerging behind enemy lines to reunite with Team A. Human soldiers ensured their safe passage, standing between the civilians and danger. The children clutched their hands, trusting the humans who had come from across the galaxy to save them. "They fight not just to destroy the enemy," Kalen whispered, awe in his voice. "They fight to protect life. Every life. That is what makes them unstoppable." Meanwhile, Team B worked to dismantle enemy defenses. Automated turrets were hacked, barricades dismantled, and communication systems disabled. Enemy soldiers were caught off guard, retreating as their advantages vanished. The city's streets, once controlled by fear, now rang with the sounds of coordinated resistance and hope. Reiner, observing from a secure vantage point, could hardly believe the transformation. "The Sorelians are no longer victims," he said. "We are fighters. We are inspired. And it is all because of them, humanity. They are the storm that has awakened us." Above, human ships provided air support, scanning for reinforcements and neutralizing threats before they reached the ground. Drones disabled remaining enemy units, creating safe corridors for civilians and Sorelian soldiers alike. Every action was calculated yet adaptable, proving that no challenge was insurmountable when courage and intelligence were combined. As the final strongholds fell, enemy commanders realized their defeat was inevitable. Machines broke down, soldiers surrendered, and their once confident strategy crumbled under the relentless pressure of human ingenuity and allied Sorelian resistance. In the last enemy base, Captain Solis and his team confronted the remaining forces. The humans moved with swift, decisive coordination, disabling weapons and capturing prisoners without unnecessary risk to civilians. The enemy's morale shattered completely. Kalen watched the scene, tears in his eyes. "We thought all hope was lost. But they came. They fought and they protected us. They have changed everything." By midday, the final pockets of resistance had been neutralized. Sorel was free. Civilians emerged from shelters, cheering and crying, embracing friends and family. Streets that had known despair now resonated with joy and relief. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world transformed, not only physically but in spirit. Admiral Elena addressed her crew from orbit. "Today we have shown what humanity can do. We have not only defeated an enemy, but restored hope to a people who had nearly given up. Remember, our strength lies not only in our technology but in our determination, intelligence, and compassion." On the ground, Talira and Reinor joined the humans in distributing supplies, helping the wounded, and guiding civilians back to safer areas. The Cerellians were no longer passive observers, they were active participants, inspired by their allies' courage and strategies. Kalen stood among the rescued civilians, watching as human soldiers worked tirelessly. "They came for us from across the stars," he said quietly. "Not to conquer, not to rule, but to fight for life. That is what makes them extraordinary. That is what makes them human." As the evening settled over Sorel, the city reflected both its scars and its resilience. Buildings were still damaged, streets still bore the marks of conflict, yet hope flourished in every heart. The Cerellians had learned something they would never forget. Courage, unity, and intelligence could overcome even the darkest despair. In a secure hall, Talira addressed the council and civilians. "Today our world was changed. We were saved not by luck but by determination, strategy, and the will to protect one another. Humanity has shown us the meaning of courage and hope. We will rebuild, stronger and wiser, carrying their lessons with us." Reiner added, "We have learned that even when all seems lost, when the darkness is overwhelming, a determined force, smart, brave, and united, can turn the tide. The humans did not just fight, they taught us how to fight for our lives, our people, and our world." Kalen stepped forward, feeling the weight of the moment. "We will never forget. They came like a storm, fierce and unyielding, but also protective and caring. We have survived despair, and now we will build a future worthy of their sacrifice and guidance." As night fell, the Cerellian people celebrated cautiously, but joyfully. Fires burned for warmth and cooking. Children played in streets that had been battlefields just hours ago, and families reunited. The humans moved among them, assisting where needed, but never claiming dominion, merely ensuring safety and protection. Above, human ships lingered in orbit, keeping watch and ready to respond if needed. Their presence was a reminder of the storm that had arrived and the courage it had inspired. They had fought with precision, ingenuity, and compassion, showing that true strength came not from power alone, but from the will to protect and the intelligence to act wisely. Talira, standing atop a rebuilt tower with Reiner and Kalen, looked to the stars where the human fleet glimmered. "They came from across the galaxy," she said softly, "and they showed us that no enemy, no despair, can stand against courage and intelligence combined. We are free because they fought with us and taught us how to believe in ourselves." Kalen nodded. "We will rebuild and we will protect what they helped save. Their storm is past, but its legacy will remain in every heart and every action we take." Reiner smiled, his eyes reflecting both relief and pride. "We have survived despair. We have learned courage. And we will never forget the storm that changed everything. Humanity came, and they have left a legacy that will guide us for generations." The city, once a symbol of fear and destruction, now shone as a beacon of hope. Cerellians worked together to rebuild, inspired by the example set by their human allies. Streets were cleared, buildings reinforced, and systems restored. But more importantly, hearts and minds had been transformed. For the first time in centuries, the Cerellians looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope. They knew that even in the darkest hour, help could arrive, and courage combined with intelligence could overcome any obstacle. Humanity had shown them the way. As the night sky stretched over the planet, filled with the twinkling lights of human ships departing for distant missions, the Cerellians whispered words of gratitude and admiration. They had survived despair, and a storm had passed over their world, leaving not destruction but life, courage, and hope. The storm had come and gone, but its legacy remained. Humanity had arrived when all seemed lost, fought with unmatched courage and intelligence, and inspired an entire civilization to rise from despair. Sorel would never be the same again. And as the first stars of a new night appeared over the horizon, the Cerellians knew one truth: no darkness, no enemy, and no despair could ever withstand the storm of humanity's courage, ingenuity, and determination. The story of that day would be told for generations, a story of hope, courage, and the storm that struck like a force from the stars, leaving a lasting legacy of inspiration.